Hi, this is Ron LeGrand, and I wanted to personally thank you for ordering my course to help you get started in real estate. I think you'll enjoy it and see how so many of my students make so much money. However, the training on this video is not part of the course you ordered, and in fact has never been taught before by anyone. What you're about to see is a new revolution taking place right now, and it's a really neat way for you to get started and make money on beautiful houses without ever buying them or raising capital or doing repairs or making payments or doing short sales or even paying closing costs. Join me on this 90-minute journey into a new world while my friend Jay Connor and I introduce you to the world of control without ownership. And by the way, Jay makes over $1 million a year buying and selling houses without using his money or credit, and has done so for the last 3 years in a row, in a recession. His whole city has only 40,000 people, and he spends less than 10 hours a week on his business. You'll hear us discuss why on this video. So let's get into the training right now. You sit back and relax and take notes, and I'll come back for a minute after it's over.
Well, hello everybody, this is Ron LeGrand, and welcome to this online training, and I think you're going to be very excited about the content with this one, as my friend Jay Connor and I go through some new ways, at least new to most people, on how to make money in real estate. I think you're going to love the new system that we've got in place for you, so get ready to take some copious notes, because if you've ever taken notes, this is going to be one you want to take notes with. For those of you who don't know me, I've been around for a long time, about 30 years now, buying and selling properties, still do to this very minute, right up to date. Still buy 2 to 3 a month, sitting here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I work and live. I've trained over 500,000 people all over the country, mostly United States, but Canada and some other countries as well. Run 6 different businesses simultaneously, have spoken with the best of the best and hired the best of the best to speak with me, and I've been making millionaires for a long time now. My friend Jay Connor, that picture beside me you see, is a great example of a student turned teacher. So I've asked him to be on this training with us today, and he'll show you how he's using the exact same system that we're going to discuss today in his business to make over $1 million a year for the last 3 years running. I don't know anybody that knows more about Jay Connor than Jay, so I'm going to let him speak. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Ron, for inviting me to be on this call today. And I tell you, I owe so much to you, Ron, as far as changing the way that I buy and sell houses. I've been buying and selling houses here in eastern North Carolina, Morehead City, North Carolina, full-time for the past 9 years. But, you know, I just thought I had it rocking and rolling along really well, making six figures a year. But then when I got introduced into your world of training and teaching on how to buy and sell houses the right way, within 12 months, I was able to triple my income into the 7 figures, and I'm even in a small area, only about 40,000 people in my total target area. So, as I say, I'm full-time into the business, and it's just been fantastic since getting into your world.
And we're going to touch on, Jay, today in this event here, how you can literally work about 10 hours a week and create a 7-figure income into your world, because that's frankly just as important as the main subject we're going to talk about today. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. You know, one thing I try to focus on is everything that we learn to do when it comes to buying and selling houses, let's find a way to put that on automatic so, you know, we're not working for our business all the time, but our business is working for us.
Amen, brother. All right, now, guys, as you can see on your screen, you can submit questions, but I cannot answer them live on this webinar. However, we will get back to you within 24 hours, so if you'll go to the question box on your screen and write them and submit them to us, I'll make you a promise that I will personally answer them and get back to you. However, please do not submit them until the end of the webinar, because I'm literally going to answer a lot of your questions before you get a chance to ask them. So hold on. Instead of taking the time to do all of that writing, just listen. But still, make note of what you want to ask, and if I haven't answered it by the end, you can submit it, and I'll get it right back to you. We're going to discuss properties with no equity in them, how we're going to make money on properties that are over-leveraged, at least $10,000 a month, with someone else doing almost all of the work for you. In fact, this is called most exciting new technique that I've run across in my 30-year history. We're adapting to the times, and I think that when you see what we're doing here in the real world out here today, you're going to see that you got to get involved in this, because there's too much money to not to get involved and almost no risk. Then we're going to talk about houses that have some equity in them, how you can make a quick, easy first check on a nice home and never have to buy it, never raise money, never guarantee any debt, never do any repairs or get anyone qualified for a loan. And today's market, indeed, does have a lot of over-leveraged houses. In fact, over 50% of the for sale by owners that we get in that either call us or that we call from their ads are over-leveraged. And I saw a statistic somewhere. In fact, I think it was during the Republican debate that I saw a statistic that said that 25% of all homes in America are overfinanced. That is a huge market for us to tap into when you understand how we can help sellers get out and buyers get in. A lot of people buying subject to or owner financing requires closing costs, and they don't want to pay those costs. I'm referring to us investors. And you've got to have equity to buy. I train my folks that if you don't have equity, you don't want to take title. However, we're going to learn on this webinar how we can make money without taking title, and even if there is no equity. Paying cash requires a big discount that we can't get if there's no equity. So this is a problem that eliminates many of the deals that will come at us, because obviously if you don't have any equity, you can't pay cash, because I've got to buy them for 50, 60, 70 cents on the dollar. I have zero interest in paying cash. There's a new system born to adapt to this marketplace, and that's what we're going to spend the time here today. The solution is called ACTS, ACTS, which stands for Assigning Contracts and Terms. And here's what it is. Any terms you create with the seller that can be assigned to your buyer. Now, don't get it confused with a wholesale deal, because it sounds much like a wholesale deal, but that's not what it is. In a wholesale deal, we go out and we find a bank-owned property and we assign it to an investor buyer, and we collect a check $5,000, $10,000 or more at that time. Well, ACTS is very similar, except we're dealing with beautiful houses and beautiful neighborhoods, and there is no loans to get, and there's no repairs to do, and many of these sometimes these houses are over leveraged, so it's a different buyer. It's owner occupants only, opposed to wholesale deals where it's to investors only. Beautiful houses in beautiful neighborhoods and ready to move into. Now, the most common deal that'll come through this system is on over leveraged houses, and all we have to do is find people that are willing to allow us to lease option their property and then assign that lease to a tenant buyer who is happy to move into the home, even though there's more owed on it than it's worth, for reasons we are about to get into here. And I can assure you that you're going to have questions on this one. So again, write them down. I did when I first heard about it. In fact, when I heard about it, I wouldn't listen. I turned a deaf ear, and the more I thought about it, the more I got to thinking, holy smokes, this is not only good, this is a deal changer. This changes everything we do, and it opens up a whole new world of opportunity that we didn't have before this ACT thing came into being, and I created this system around it. Now here's a good example of an ACT deal. Take a look at this, and you might want to write these numbers down just so you can keep them with you as we go through, but R stands for after repaired value. After repaired value means the market value of the property today in excellent condition. Now, don't let the word after repaired bother you, because this house was already repaired and it's excellent shape. So if I were to have this house appraised today, it appraised for about $150,000 at today's prices in its current excellent shape. However, there's a $162,000 loan owed on this house with 22 years left on the mortgage, and the payment is $1,120 a month, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. We simply lease option the property from the seller for the loan balance with a minimum of a 10-year lease with the rent equal to the payment. In other words, we tell the seller, we'll lease your house for at least 10 years. In fact, the truth is, Jay, I know you're doing some of these as well. If we wanted to lease the property for the entire 22 years, sellers don't object to it. Is that your experience?
That's been my experience. You know, with what you're getting ready to get into, the seller you're bringing a solution to their problem. Whether it's 10 years or 22 years, you're going to help them get their house taken care of for them.
All right. You're correct. So, guys, you might want to make yourself a first note. If I want to, I could lease it for the entire 22 years. It's just a condition of me leasing it. To be honest with you, though, I'm not doing that in my business right now. I'm leasing it for a 10-year period because I feel that's quite enough for the equity to return in the property and my tenant buyer to get refinanced. So I'm just putting a 10-year term in it. But remember, I'm passing that 10-year term on to my tenant buyer. That's important here now that you get that this is a long-term lease on these over-leveraged houses. As we go through here, I hope it'll become readily apparent why it's so important. All right, you lease it, and then you locate a tenant buyer with $5,000 to $10,000, and you assign your lease option and collect that money as an assignment fee. It is not an option toward the purchase price. It's an assignment fee clearly disclosed to the tenant buyer. It's in addition to the loan balance, and we have no trouble getting them. And note the last line there, with the seller's approval. The seller will approve everything we do in these transactions. So here we go with the questions. And again, save yours till the end, and then you can insert them if I don't answer them here, and I bet I do. Number one, how can I do this without a real estate license? Well, I don't need a real estate license if I'm a principal, which means if I don't have a real estate license, I must sign the lease purchase agreement as the person leasing the property from the seller, and then I will assign that agreement to my tenant buyer. And I am the principal the minute that I sign the agreement with the seller, even though I intend to assign it to a tenant buyer. So guys, let me go over that real quick, just again to make sure you understand. If I do not have a real estate license, I must enter into an agreement with the seller to buy or lease their property, or I cannot locate a buyer for the property without violating real estate licensing law. If I do, however, have a license, then it's entirely up to you whether you want to just call it a listing agreement or whatever agreement, because you do not have to enter into the lease option agreement in order to find the tenant buyer and legally get paid. But you definitely need to check this not only with your real estate broker if you have one, but also with your attorney where you live. I always suggest to my clients that they run this by their attorney first, but please make sure you remember to tell them that you are literally signing the lease purchase agreement with the seller before you assign it to someone else. You're not just agreeing to sell their house for them. You never want to do that without a license. All right, next question. Is it dangerous to sign on the long-term lease agreement? The answer, of course, is yes. It is dangerous for you to sign on a long-term lease agreement, but remember, don't remember, I haven't taught you this yet, but we are going to be assigning that agreement, and we're going to get a full release of liability when we do it from both the seller and the buyer when we get out of this deal. So I don't want you to be worrying about guaranteeing payments or anything like that. I'm not going to let you get yourself in a position to where you're ever going to be making payments on a house that you don't even own or live in. So don't let that bother you. Again, we have the documentation, makes it very simple. All you're going to do is pass on an agreement. For example, if I were wholesaling a house and I had a contract to buy it from the bank, when I assign that contract to the next buyer, I'm out of it. There's no liability there. Same here. All right, next question. Why would the buyer pay more than what it's worth? Now, this, of course, is the big one in most people's minds. Why would I go in and lease option a property for when I know that the loan balance on it is more than what it's worth? So stick with me here on this one, because this is kind of the crux of the whole deal right here. You've got to understand this, or you will not understand how this ACTS thing works. And by the way, this webinar is not strictly about ACTS. Stick with me, and I'm going to show you in a minute not only how we can work with over-leveraged houses, but also how we can work with some with equity in them, and also get into a little on options as well. So this is a control without ownership event, not strictly an assignment of contract and terms event. But we have to start with ACTS so I can pave the way to show you what we're going to do with all of the properties that come to us that are not overfinanced. In fact, we're even going to have a discussion about free and clear properties here in just a moment. Well, long-term lease with plenty of time for the debt to pay down and the equity to return. And here's what you got to understand to really get this mentally. When I sell my property to a tenant buyer, let me start from the beginning. When I lease option the property from the seller, I'm not leasing the property for at X amount when it sells. My lease agreement to the seller will clearly state that the purchase price is the loan balance at the time I purchase. That's very important now that you get that, because then you can see that every single time a rent payment is made to the seller, the purchase price drops because the principal on the loan drops a little. And you see, I'm simply going to pass that right on to my tenant buyer. So that's what makes this work. In fact, if my tenant buyer has got 10 years to get qualified for the loan, which certainly won't take that. Jay, you're helping people clean up their credit when you put them in the houses. What's the average time for somebody to get their credit cleaned up, assuming that's an issue when they come to it?
Well, the shortest period of time we run into is normally about 6 months. The average is about 12 to 18 months.
So if somebody comes in with a credit issue, obviously they can get that fixed long before 10 years, right?
Oh, my lands, yes. If we don't have it done in 18 months, then, they just don't pay their bills.
All right. So obviously getting the credit cleaned up is an easy problem to fix here. However, getting the equity back is going to take some time. If this house is over-leveraged, here's again, if we owe $162,000 on a house right now, guys, take a look down there at the bottom, because I did the little math on my fancy-dancy little financial calculator. And if they wait till 10 years to buy this property, that $162,000 debt has been paid down to $96,000. Therefore, the buyer's purchase price would only be $96,000 if they did buy at the end of that 10th year. So I hope you can see why it's in the buyer's advantage to move into this beautiful and control this beautiful home with a very small down amount of money. I won't call it a down payment because it's not. Remember, that fee goes to you as an assignment fee. But they get to literally control this property for a 10-year period, pretend like they're the owner because they have the option to buy it. They have a unilateral agreement. The seller can't do anything with the house while they have this agreement. And every time they make a rent payment, the debt gets lower and lower and lower, so it's actually in the tenant buyer's advantage to stay in the house longer. And get this now, guys. They don't have to ever refinance it if they don't want to. They can sell the house, get the thing down to $100,000, and hopefully by that time it'll be worth $175 or $200. They can sell the property without ever taking title to it themselves and keep the profit. So it's a huge advantage to the buyer. So why wouldn't they do it? And in fact, why wouldn't you do it? Because the worst that can happen is that they live in the house for years and then they decide to move. Will they forfeit their assignment? Well, of course they will. But golly, the benefits far outweigh the minimal cost that they put out. Live in a beautiful home for all these years, totally under their control. Jay, do you have any problem convincing your tenant buyers that it's a good deal regardless of what the balance is?
Oh, my lands, Ron, not at all. And I tell you, I've been doing magic since I was 7 years old. I love magic and doing it for kids and stuff. And this program that you are going over here, I don't know if it's more magical or if it's just downright brilliant, because I just started doing this just a few short weeks ago from you teaching me how to do it. And we've got all these people out here that are over-leveraged, that are stuck. They want to get out of their home. They can't list it with a realtor because they're upside down, not enough to pay them. And then we've got all these people over here that would love to be have a way to own a home. This is the only way they can. And it's like, it's magically they're coming together, and it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Yep. As long as they can make the payments, which we're going to verify before we get the seller's approval, and as long as they got enough money down to satisfy our needs for the assignment fee, we're going to put them in the house. You can imagine how many folks. Do you know there's over 11 million people out there that have lost their homes now in the last 5 years because of this recession? And here we are, right in the middle, getting the sellers out before they lose their house to foreclosure and putting tenant buyers in. They're not bad people just because they may have credit issues. They're just in a bad time and maybe have made some mistakes, and here we come and put them in a home of their own, and we're satisfying that dream of home ownership that all Americans have. So we go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ron, I mean, the tenant buyer that we're bringing to the table and introducing them to a house here that they can get, I mean, just stop and think about it. They're going to be able to get a home. They're going to make payments on that home. They're going to get credit for the principal and interest as though that loan was in their name. And the only thing that hasn't happened yet is they just haven't transferred the title or the deed from the seller to the new tenant buyer. And it's like, wow, it's like going to the bank and them getting a loan, but, it's the same principle, but they're just – what so excites me so much is the tenant buyer is getting the credit for paying that principal and interest down.
Yeah, excites them too. It certainly excites all of them I put in them, I can tell you that. And
well, it's their only way. It's their only way.
All right, well, let's look at it from the seller's point of view now. Why would the seller allow such a long-term lease? So let's look at their choices here. Number one, They can live in the house for years and let the equity come back. And I have run across a few people that have taken that route. At least they say they're going to take it. But I would remind you, in order for the seller to come in contact with us to begin with, they must have done it in only one of two ways. Either we've contacted them because they run an ad, which means they want to sell their house, or they've contacted us because we've sent them a letter, or they've read one of our ads, which means they want to sell their house. So very rarely will you ever find a seller that chooses just to live in the house for years for the equity to catch back up. And it will take years. I mean, we're in a recession, folks, and this equity is not going to come back. It's going to take quite a while, so we're building that into the program for our buyers. Either second choice, they can just walk away and let it go into foreclosure. And, yes, many of them will do just exactly that because they just throw up their hands and mentally they've already quit. Well, I can't help everyone. So if that's their choice, then that's their choice. We find that when we do give them a better solution, it's not hard to persuade them to take our option instead of theirs. Or they can try to find a short sale buyer. Obviously, if you've ever tried one of those, you know objective number one is they've got to get a realtor to even list the property when it's overfinanced, which won't be easy. And then, of course, they got to find the buyer that can qualify for a loan even at a reduced price, which is not easy. And then they got to get the bank to accept the reduced offer, which is also not easy. So the odds are stacked well against the seller who thinks a short sale is their way out. Then, of course, they can let us find the tenant buyer for them, do all the work for them, and then let them approve that tenant buyer at no cost to them. And I do want to point out to you, this does not cost the seller a dime. They don't spend any money. We don't ask them for any money. We find the tenant buyer. We do a little bit of due diligence. And in fact, we is a loose word because all of that's going to be done for you when we get to it here. And then we present them to the seller. And so far, I haven't had a seller turn down any of them that I presented. Have you, Jay?
Not the first one. I mean,
No.
it's so brand new and so hot. I've been out within just the last few short weeks. I've got 5 that I presented, and all 5 said yes.
Yeah, and we're kind of having a similar result. See, guys, it's not very often that these sellers with these over-leveraged houses actually have somebody to come into them with a solution. And here you are, and in fact, they have to think twice. Whoa, never heard this one before. So this is really the time to do this. This is a tremendous opportunity out there right now. Okay, does the seller know what we're doing? I think I've answered that. They absolutely know what we're doing. In fact, they must approve every single tenant buyer and put it in writing, and they will come in contact with our attorney before this is over and sign some documentation that the attorney puts in front of them. All right, well, what if the tenant buyer moves out later? Well, I instruct my sellers to just call me. Just call me. And if they want me to come back and put another tenant buyer in there, I'll do it and start all over again and collect another assignment fee. So, I'm available as long as they remember to call me. Wouldn't hurt to check back with them for every now and then just to see how things are going. Because remember, when I put the tenant buyer in the house, folks, they're paying the seller directly. I'm out. I'm not in the middle. I'm not collecting rent. I'm not paying rent. I have no obligations whatsoever to the house. I have general releases signed by both parties. So I wouldn't even know if the rent's being paid unless that seller contacted me, and then I'll come right back in and we'll do it again. What if the tenant damages the house? I've never had that question, but I am sure that sooner or later somebody will ask it to you, perhaps. Have you, Jay?
Actually, I haven't run across that on this program.
Well, my answer is very simple, though. You lease option it again. You just call me, and I'll lease option it to another tenant buyer, but this time we'll do it as is and let the tenant buyer do the work themselves, which I find no short supply of tenant buyers that are happy to come in and do some work on the property. I'll never, ever try to convince the seller that there's no risk to this, but when they weigh it against their alternatives, this is a minimal risk. Plus, it's always nice to point out to them that we just don't put tenants in these houses. We put tenant buyers in them that have given us a substantial skin in the game, as we call it, before we allow them in the house.
Hey, Ron.
Okay. Yeah.
You just asked me, had I run into the seller saying, what happens if they trash my house? I tell you what I have gotten nearly every time, and that's their attention. Because when I tell them that the tenant buyer that I'm going to find for them is now responsible for all the repairs, their eyes get as big as saucers.
All right, well,
they're out of they're not landlords. They're actually doing it on a lease option, so they don't have to worry with the repairs while that tenant buyer's in there.
Well, now, I haven't told them that yet, Jay, so you're spoiling one of my surprises.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But no, that's all right. I'll forgive you.
Okay.
But that is true, guys. We pass on 100% of the repair costs to our tenant buyers, It's built right into our lease option agreement after the first 30 days. I tell my sellers, you got to be responsible for any of the systems that are broke within the first 30, and after that, it's all on them. And that's 30 days after occupancy. And so, therefore, you have no responsibility whatsoever for any closing costs or any repairs. Okay, what paperwork is involved? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. I have a lease option agreement that the seller signs and a release form, which I will furnish to you. And then we take it and let our attorney close it. It's that simple. Folks, we don't do these things ourselves. Our attorneys do the paperwork. We do a little bit of paperwork, but what we have is simple. And from there, the attorney takes over. And when we put the tenant buyer in the house, the attorney closes that transaction, gets the tenant buyer to sign off on the any disclosures that he or she wants them to sign off on, and then gets the seller to sign any documents that still need to be signed. And guess what? The tenant buyer is paying the attorney's fee. We don't pay the attorney's fees.
That's right.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. Does this only work on over-leveraged houses? All right, you better get this one because this is really, really cool. I've been talking all this time about houses that have more owed on them than it's worth, but please let me open up your eyes here, and let's just take a look at an example here on a free and clear house that is coming up here, because it works on any deal that you can create terms that you can pass on to a buyer or a tenant buyer. Look at this example. Here's a free and clear house that's worth about $200,000. It's in excellent shape, and it's in a beautiful neighborhood. However, the seller's asking $210,000, but they have agreed to owner finance as long as the buyer puts up $20,000 and pays $1,200 a month. So let me make sure you understand that. The owner will become the bank. The owner will sell the house, take back payments of $1,200 a month, as long as somebody puts up $20,000 down. Now, I don't know about you, Jay, but I know that I'm not paying more than a house is worth and putting up $20,000 down to do it as an investor. So obviously this deal's not going to work for me. How about you?
Me neither.
So in the past, when a seller comes at me with terms like this that, frankly, do not excite me at all, I would throw it in the trash, as you would too, huh?
Yes, exactly.
All right. But that was the past. That was the past. Now today, since we've invented this act thing, why don't we just go take this property and put it under contract for exactly what the seller wants? And then we simply find the buyer with the $20,000 down and an additional $5,000 assignment fee and assign them the contract. That means that we never buy the house. We're just putting them in our position. We have no closing costs whatsoever because we're not buying. Our tenant buyer is buying. We need not one dime to do this, not a dime. We're simply assigning a contract. We're not buying a house. Therefore, we have no risk and no costly entanglement. And we never sign on any kind of a note to the seller because we're simply assigning our contract. So even though I wouldn't put up $20,000, I know that there's a big marketplace of people out there who would easily bring in $25,000 to buy a house with owner financing. They don't have to go to the bank. They don't have to qualify. They move in immediately and have the seller become their bank. There's a whole subculture of those out there, and I've been selling houses like that for a lot of years. And here's the beautiful part. You can do 2 or 3 of these a month because you have no costly entanglements. You have no repairs to do. You have no qualified buyers, no banks to deal with, and all that junk that goes along with selling normal houses the way people think they ought to be sold traditionally. So I hope you guys got that. Anytime that you can create terms that you think your market will buy and pay you a little more to pass on to them, and seller financing is one of those always, you got a sellable, assignable item that you can pass right on and collect a few bucks and be out with it. Very much like wholesaling a house again. That's a bank-owned property, but instead you're selling it to a tenant buyer at a retail price so they can move into it. By the way, the emotional need for tenant buyers to buy houses to move into is 50 times higher than selling junkers to investors so they can flip them and make a profit on them.
Hey, Ron, I got an exact example of what you just said. This very morning at 9:30 a.m., I had a tenant buyer, prospective tenant buyer, on the telephone with me personally. They offered me $40,000 lease option to put down on a home. And their situation in a nutshell, they just filed bankruptcy last week. Their new home was just built 3 years ago. The contractors filed bankruptcy. Their house has fallen apart. It doesn't have any support beams in it. And so the point of this is they've got some cash. They want to own a new home, but because of this bankruptcy, this kind of program you're talking about on getting owner financing from a seller would be the perfect way to go. But here's the point I want to make, and that is they not at all were buying price. Price was not their motivator. Their motivator was terms, and they've got the down payment. So guess what Jay Connor's doing? He's going to find them a seller that will fit their needs for this situation.
You bet. And I want to make another point here, guys, before I move on. In my last example, I've agreed to buy the property with owner financing from the seller, and I'm going to assign that contract not to a tenant buyer, but a buyer. My buyer is going to simply buy the property from the seller, and I'm going to jump out and collect my $5,000 fee. So when they're over-leveraged, I can lease option them to tenant buyers. When they're not over-leveraged, I can either sell them with seller financing, if the seller's agreement, or I can lease option them. Either way, I'm going to get paid the same amount of money regardless. So I'm just going to adapt to the individual situation. All right, well, what about houses that are way over-leveraged? Because I get this one. It took me quite a while to get this one, guys. So I understand if you have to absorb this and take a little while because it might take a little while. But if you have a nice house in a nice area with a reasonable payment, the loan balance is of little importance to your buyer if they get a long-term lease. And that kind of comes back to what Jay was just saying. So let me give you an example here. Here's a house that's worth $325,000, but it's got $395,000 owed on it. Seeing any of them out there, Jay?
Yes, sir.
By the droves, huh?
Yep.
By the droves.
Yep.
I've seen houses that are 50% over-leveraged, a couple of cases 100% over-leveraged out there right now. So here we got this big, beautiful house in most areas. Now, there's some areas of the country, this is a low-end crack house, but for the most part of the country, this is a big, beautiful house, worth $325,000, and the payment is $1,850. Now, I would submit to you that by the time you add principal, interest, taxes, and insurance to any loan you're going to get on a $325,000 house, that you're going to have a payment of $1,850 or more anyway. So this is a very reasonable payment on this house. Now, look how overfinanced it is. That's the key. So remember, your buyer has a minimum of 10 years on the lease. So I'm simply going to lease option this property from the seller for the $395,000 loan amount, agreeing to pay the $1,850 per month. And by the way, guys, get this. We keep the first month's rent we collect from the tenant buyer. When I put a tenant buyer in the property, let's say I'm getting $5,000 out of them, whatever that number may be for the assignment fee, I'm also going to keep the $1,850 because it is paid to the attorney at the time they close the lease purchase agreement. And my seller is clearly aware that I'm going to keep the first month's rent as part of my fee that the buyer pays me, and then they're going to start collecting the $850 after that. So in this particular case, I'm not only going to get my fee, but I'm going to get paid first month's rent as well. That's kind of nice. So your buyer has a minimum of 10 years left on the lease, and remember that the debt will reduce every single month, and there's no pressure for them to refinance it. So where else can you live in a beautiful home that you control, worth $325,000 for less than $1,850 a month? I doubt you could even rent one in that quality for that amount of money. So what if I don't want to assign the contract and I'd rather stay in the deal? Now, this is a whole different way of making money here that we're getting into right now. So stay with me because we're switching gears from over-leveraged houses now to houses that we're going to stay in and actually continue to make money after the first deal was done. And it's a smart move. I truly do. So let me make sure that everybody's on the same page here. Our job, what Jay and I do every single day, is we get sellers to call us from different things that we do, sending out letters, running ads, and the like. But we also have our virtual assistants call for sale by owner ads and create a property information sheet here and send us this information. Some of those properties will be over-leveraged, which comes back to the ACT program that I just described to you. Some of those properties will not be over-leveraged. Some of them will have a little bit of equity in them, which is what I'm getting to here right now. And then some of them will be free and clear. So our job is to try to take whatever the situation is and adapt it to create a solution for the seller that satisfies the seller, that also gives us, puts us in a position to where we can put the tenant buyer in there and get paid regardless. But not all sellers are over leveraged, and I like them when they come in with a little equity like this one, because you'll see multiple paydays here. Sometimes there is a little bit of equity in them, and I'm looking for a way to stay in the deal, not get out of the deal, because I've learned a long time ago that if I can stay in the deal, the goose just keeps laying the golden eggs. And you like them golden gooses too, don't you, Jay?
I love them. I love them.
You know, it's one thing to work and get paid, but it's another thing to work and continually get paid after you've done the job the first time. And this is a good example of that. I love this thing called residual income. And frankly, I'll take this one 10 times over any other kind of deal, because I constantly am going to get revenue for years to come. So let's see how. In this case, we got a house in good condition, and the current seller just wants out because they don't have much equity in it. It's worth about $150,000, but they owe $135 on it. But look at that beautiful payment of $782 PITI on this property. Now, what I'm going to do is go lease it for the loan balance of the $135 and agree to make the payment of the $782 and get a minimum of a 10-year lease. And here's a caution: make sure that the purchase price is the loan balance at the time of purchase, not the $135, folks. Because if you make that mistake 10 years from now, you'll owe $135, not $135 minus the debt pay down. All right, so here it is, side by side, so it kind of makes it easier to absorb. I'm going to lease option it from the seller for $135,000. I'm going to agree to make their $782 a month payment. And by the way, we do not make that payment for at least the first 2 months in this case. We get the seller to make them. They're happy to do it, and most of them are thrilled just to have a solution and get out of the deal. We don't give any money. Jay, do you give anybody any money on these lease option deals?
No, sir, not to date.
I don't give them any money, none whatsoever. Of course, they don't ask for it. But
well, I was getting ready to say, and I haven't had any asked for it. So,
all right. So now here I've leased auctioned this property from the seller. All right, now, so here's where we're differing from ACTS, folks, so pay attention here. I'm not going to assign that lease. I'm going to sublease this property to a tenant buyer that I choose, and I'm the only one that decides whether they go in the house or not. I've agreed to pay this seller $782 a month, starting 3 months from the date the lease was signed. I've agreed to pay them whatever the loan balance is at the time I buy it. Now I'm using a totally different lease option agreement, and I'm leasing it to the open marketplace for $159, because I always raise the price on these beautiful homes in these beautiful neighborhoods when I make them easy to buy. And guys, when you can offer a lease option house out into the world in excellent shape in an excellent area, you've made it easy to buy, and you will give them all the time they want to buy this property. My goal here, folks, is to not try to get cashed out of this house, to be honest with you. The longer I stay in this deal, the more money I'm going to make. I'm in no hurry to get cashed out. I hope they don't cash me out. I hope this deal goes on for years. So I'm going to get a $10,000 deposit from my tenant buyer and put him in this house, and $1,200 for the first month's rent. Plus, in my case, I get them to also put up $300 to pay the attorney's fee. So this tenant buyer has got to come in with $10,000 plus $1,200 plus $300. So they'll need what, $11,500 to get into this beautiful home, which they can lease purchase for as long as they want to lease purchase it. Now, in this case, I have gotten at least a 10-year lease for my tenant buyer. But the truth is, Jay, and I don't know if you do this or not, but if I feel the need, I'll just lease option it for the entire length of the loan, because I truly intend to stay in it till my buyer cashes me out anyway. How do you feel about that?
Well, absolutely. That's what I offer first. Is I'll say let's just write it up for the term that's left due on it, and then we don't have to deal with any renewals that come along. And so that's what I do first.
Okay. So I just made $10,000 in a few days on a house that I don't own because I got the lease option, non-refundable deposit. It's my money. Plus, I'll make $418 a month for however many years I'm in the deal. I collect $1,200. I pay out $728. That's $418. That's that residual income that I was referring to. Plus, I get to keep that first month and probably the second month's rent. So there's multiple paydays in this transaction. And then when I do get cashed out, I'll have another $14,000 coming whenever my tenant buyer goes out and gets a loan sometime into the future. And by the way, that is totally up to them. I don't even push them to do that. As again, I don't care if they do it or they don't do it. But if they do it, I'll help them get the house financed. I'm not going to stand in their way. I'm going to help them get it financed because they deserve to get it financed. But then again, if they don't, I'm not upset either because remember, when they buy the property, we just killed the golden goose. So I'm in no rush. And if the tenant moves out, I'll do it again, collect another $10,000 or so later on down the line and keep on getting paid. And as Jay said earlier, 100% of the responsibility of the repairs is passed on to the tenant buyer. I've been doing that for about 20 years now. And guys, I got one house out there right now that I have had a tenant in there for 9 years, and I have not done 1 cent worth of repairs on that property. I've got 2 out there at 7 years, and I constantly install tenant buyers. We don't hear from them again, and when we do, we remind them that it's in their lease that they're responsible for the repairs. It's a condition of the purchase. It's a condition of allowing them to option the property from us. I've never had anybody complain about that when I put them in. It has never cost me a single deal, but it has saved me thousands of dollars worth of repair costs.
Oh, quick example here, Ron. I've got 2 particular houses I'm thinking about that I have tenant buyers in right now that keep laying the golden goose eggs every month. Both of them replaced their heat pump systems. One replaced it last month. The other one is replacing their heat pump system this week. Here's what's interesting. Neither one of them complained about it. Number 2, it didn't come out of my pocket. And number 3, they understood. One of them has been in there 5 years. The other one's been in there for 11 months. And there was no complaints, and they just knew the deal up front that, hey, you are in the process of owning this house. You've got the repairs. I gave them the first 30 days. But you know what? If I hadn't done it your way, Ron, I would have been out of my pocket over $5,000 in the last 30 days.
My way's better, isn't it?
Your way's better.
Jay, I even had a guy put a pool in my backyard one time. I didn't even know about it.
I got another one doing it your way, using your forms and such. The man asked me, he says, Jay, can I build a detached garage on the property? I said,
yeah, you had to have a committee meeting.
Have at it. So I've got a tenant buyer in this house, and I got a garage on my property.
There you go. And it'll be there if the tenant moves out, too, won't it?
You got it right. Yep.
I mean, I've had them build porches and all kinds of cool things they do to the houses. Look, because they're their own house, they feel like owners. They're not
absolutely.
Tenants. And that's a huge, important distinction between the folks we put in houses and normal tenants. And that, my friends, called leverage. They don't understand this stuff on Wall Street. Okay, so let's get out of the box for a minute and throw away all the old rules in real estate. Pay attention to this one because you won't hear this anywhere else. And now let's take the same house and assume there's no equity, but it has a low payment and it's in good condition. Remember, I'm talking about staying in these things now on what we're calling a sandwich lease. It's a sandwich lease when I lease it and then I sublease it to another tenant buyer and stay in. It's an axe deal when I lease it and just assign the lease as is. This is a sandwich lease on an over-leveraged house. So watch this. I got an ARV of $150 and I got a loan of $195 and I got a payment of $782. And of course, that's what attracted me to this deal, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I can rent that house out for $1,200 a month. So why not? Why not lease option this from the seller for the balance at the time of purchase, probably for the full 27 years remaining, but for at least 10 years, and go ahead and install my tenant buyer. I can still get $5,000, $10,000 quick option deposit out of them. In this case, since it's a sandwich lease, I will call that an option deposit, and I will apply it toward the purchase price. I still get the $418 a month spread, and in 27 years, I got a house free and clear, and if I pay it off prior to that time, because the buyer wants to pay it off, I've paid it down, I got a ton of equity, I'm going to get a great big cash check at closing. And remember, the tenant does all the repairs. I mean, you can't get leverage like this in the stock market. I'm giving a free asset They're begging me to take it because it's over-leveraged. Their exit strategies are terrible. And here I come along with a solution. I make all this money. I got no investment. I got no credit, no repairs, no loans needed, and no risk. I'm telling you, you can't beat this business. I've never seen anything like it. And there's more to control without ownership than act in the sandwich lease option. So let me switch gears here for just a moment and throw you into another whole arena called options. Let's just assume that I've got some high-priced houses where we live that are in excellent condition that the owners would like to sell for all cash, but would gladly sell well below the current market value. Now, I've got one up here on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, where they're asking $650 for an $800,000 house, and I option it for $550. But just between you and me, I wouldn't agree to pay $550 for a house worth $800 in today's market. Remember, this is a cash offer, and I'm not going to come up with the cash myself. But I want to get as much spread as I can, because here's what you got to understand about these high-end houses. You have to option them at a price low enough to allow you to sell them below market and still make six figures to want to do the deal. Now, in my example, I've optioned it for $550, and I've sold it for $650, and it's worth $800, and so I netted $100,000. Ladies and gentlemen, these things are all around you, almost anywhere you live, and it's a whole nother business, and it's something you could do in addition to what you're currently doing, because many of the people who call you are going to have these high-end houses. Remember, they do have to have a lot of equity to make this work. This is not about over-leveraged houses. It's not about houses with big debts on it, but houses with a lot of equity. This option might work. No risk to the seller. No risk to the seller, because if you don't sell, they have nothing to lose. Now, all right, where do I find all of these deals, and especially the option deals? Well, the fastest and the easiest way to find them is to call the people who advertise them. Now, stay with me, because we're about to take the workload off of you. I don't want you calling them. We're going to connect you with a lady in my system who will find and train a virtual assistant to call you, and it's their job to get these property information sheets completely filled out and submitted to you. I'm about to offer you a system to where you understand what to do with them and how to follow up with them. But if we don't get these leads, as we call them, coming in, these are for sale by owners. They've advertised their house for sale. Now, somebody's got to call them and fill out this sheet. And now your job is to just quickly pre-screen them and make a handful of calls to the people who passed the test that we call prospects and get all the suspects out of your life. And that narrows your job down to calling 3 or 4 or 5 people a week and then sending an agreement to the ones who say yes because you've read my scripts to them and they like what they hear, as Jay and I have been discussing. And if you want, you can even have your VA do that for you. I do. The truth is that we have our VAs do everything for us, don't we, Jay? In fact,
yes, we do.
I got this idea from you, man.
Yep. There you go. Well, and I can't remember up to this point, Ron, have we told them what VA stands for?
I don't think so. It's not the Veterans Administration.
No, it's not the Veterans Administration. These are virtual assistants. And I tell you what, they have become such a big part of my business to where I only have to show up the 10 hours or less a week and helping run my business on automatic.
Well, mine too. And in fact, the world of the virtual assistants has literally gotten all of my students to the point where there's almost nothing for them to do. So we're going to come back to that here in a minute and make sure that everybody understands how important they are to our business. In fact, it goes right into the selling. I get this question all the time. So how do I sell these houses? And the answer is you don't. You let your virtual assistants do it for you, especially when we hook you up with a lady who will hire them and train them for you. And guys, your virtual assistant will do it all for you. I mean, look at, they'll post houses on Craigslist for you. They'll build you flyers on postlets.com and on Craigslist. They'll run the ads for you and they'll set up the voicemail box for people who call in offline. They respond to your emails and even talk to your pre-screened buyers. I mean, literally, our VA who hires VAs will train them to do all that for you. And then all you have to do is check out the good prospects. And actually, our VAs send the paperwork to us to clear, and then we just forward them on to our attorney. Is that what you do, Jay?
Absolutely. In fact, the virtual assistant is trained to take care of virtually all the paperwork, and between them and my attorney, it's all taken care of for me.
So I hope you're beginning to see why a guy like Jay Connor can work 10 hours a week in his business and net over 7 figures every single year. And by the way, I'm saying net, guys, not sell $1 million worth of houses. That's nothing. It's only what you get to keep that counts.
That's right.
In fact, Jay, what the heck do you do?
Well, I've got this syndrome that's sort of similar to yours, Ron, and that is this is not the only business that I'm involved in.
Yes.
And because we've got these systems, thanks to your training, set up on automatic, it allows me to do these other things that I want to do. Because if I didn't have it set up this way, then I would be working in my business instead of working on my businesses.
What you're saying is some extremely wise guy told you the less you do, the more you make?
Yes, he did, and thank goodness I took it to heart.
All right. Okay, me too. And, guys, I'll tell you, it's going to take you probably a lot longer to learn that than it does learn real estate. Why don't we just get out of the way and let other people do what they do best so we can focus on doing the important things that only we have to do. And none of this stuff involved in buying and selling houses, almost none of it, you have to do. The rest can be done for you if you'll let us help you. And very inexpensively, too, I might add. Very inexpensively. All right, well, where do I learn more about this control without ownership business? And, of course, my answer is from the smartest guy available to you today to teach this business, because I truly am, if not the best, one of the best qualified people in this country to help you, guide you through this step by step.
Ron, I can tell you, you are the most qualified because I spent money on that other stuff, and I know what we've got with you.
Best looking, too, right, Jay?
I'll leave that one alone.
All right. Okay, guys, there's 3 components to your training. The first is we're going to train you on the ACTS program. That's where you just assign the contract. The second is where we do the sandwich leases, and the third is on the option program. Now, you will learn the ACT system step by step from the very first step to getting the checks and beyond, in fact. And I'll cover that for you in detail so that you can get it, even if you're brand new in the business. But I also want to teach you this sandwich lease stuff, which I think you're going to get very excited about because there's such a huge supply of these buyers and sellers out there right now. And we're going to cover lease optioning from the seller with the right to sublease, a step-by-step process to lease option a house from a seller when it's best to do so rather than buy it subject to. And if you don't know what that means that we actually take title to a property and the debt stays in the seller's name, but the ownership transfers to us. We're not going to teach that in this system. I've got another system to do that. But so this is all about controlling properties, not buying them. When it's best not to lease option yourself, but simply get in and get out using the ACT system. In other words, when is it an ACT candidate? When is it a sandwich lease candidate? How to quickly pre-screen good lease option and option candidates before you have personal contact. And we do that, ladies and gentlemen. Neither Jay nor I or my better students talk to anybody, seller or buyer, till they've been pre-screened, sifted and sorted, and we know exactly what they want and will do if they're a seller and know what they have to work with if they're a buyer. All of our scripts are included in this manual. You don't have to write anything. I've done it all for you, both buying and selling. And the beautiful part about it is that your VAs are going to be reading, most of them, not you. I want to teach you the 7 reasons why lease options will save the deal when all other buying techniques fail, and my best 3 ways to find and target the best lease option candidates so you can work only with sellers who need you badly, which are so much easier to work with. I will train you to work with the people who want to work with you and whack the rest at lightning speed. And the reality is that the minority of the people who come into our world we can do business with. So let's recognize the majority that we have to get rid of so they don't suck up time and resources before you ever talk to them. I am not.
Hey, Ron, just real quick, what goes along with what you just said is so important. The way you have taught us how to do this business is because our virtual assistants are screening them. Here's what's so beautiful. I don't talk to anybody the way you've taught us in your system. I don't talk to anybody until they've already decided they want to do business with me. So it's just so smooth and transitional.
Well, I would suggest to all of our listeners that that's probably the attitude they ought to adapt about any business. It really makes no difference whether it's real estate or whatever. I don't talk to people until I know what they want to talk about, and I know that there's a reason to have that conversation. You'll learn that as an entrepreneur. Sometimes it'll take years, but sooner or later you better figure out that you need to spend your time doing the things that are most important to you, and it's not talking to buyers who can't buy or sellers who don't want to sell.
Amen.
I'll show you the deadly mistakes to avoid when lease optioning from the seller and when you never want to do so, and there are times when you wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I'm going to teach you about high-priced houses versus low-price, and hopefully I can gradually get you to the point to where you can deal with these high-dollar houses when you come to the conclusion that you can do it without risk, and you can. If you're lease optioning a $1 million house with a $1.1 million loan on it with a $4,800 a month payment, there is no more risk to do that deal and pick up at least a $25,000 assignment fee than there is a $5,000 assignment fee on the smaller deals. So I've learned the more dollars you waller in, the more stick to you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what you've taught us, Ron? It takes the same amount of time to talk to somebody to pocket $25,000 as it does $5,000.
You betcha. You betcha. I'm going to teach you how to answer any seller objections and show them why you are their best and likely only choice. All of that is scripted for you. Every objection you're ever going to hear is in this system. All you have to do is read the objections, and I promise you, you're not going to hear them anyway, but I put them in there just to make you sleep better at night. The truth is, if you get good at pre-screening out all the suspects and only work with the prospects, you're almost never going to hear an objection. Remember, you're not even going to get on the telephone with them until you know they're a highly motivated prospect. You'll receive my one-of-a-kind lease option agreement for sellers I created with my lawyers. Folks, I got a lot of money in these agreements, and, of course, I'm going to ask you to send them to your attorney before you use them one time, and after that, you've got these agreements to use for the rest of your life, and I promise you they're going to work in your favor. They're very, very good agreements. I've got one agreement in there alone that I created that is worth more than you're going to pay for this entire system. In fact, I got $6,000 just getting this one agreement done. You're also going to get my agreements to sell with and my letters of intent and my CYA, which stands for Cover Your Assets letter, and your releases, and all the documents are right in here. You will not have to create anything that hasn't been created. All you have to do is let your attorney add whatever he or she wants that they think might need to be signed in the state where you live. And that's their responsibility to pull up, not yours. On the option side, I'm going to cover the very lucrative part of the business and show you how to make 6 figures each from houses you never own. And trust me, this is a very exciting part of your business, and it's big if you want it to be. How to target the best prospects after you learn what they are in the option world, and how to quickly and easily approach the seller to see if he or she is in or out. In fact, we don't approach them. We have a script that does that for you. By the time you get the script from the virtual assistant, you will know immediately whether they're an option candidate or not, and they will do the calling for you. In fact, I don't want you to be calling anybody on the front end. What houses you don't want to option, which ones are time wasters and energy suckers, and how to handle all seller objections with scripts. And truth is, whether it's lease options, acts, or options, whether it's buying or whether it's selling, got it all done for you, got it all scripted. How to option for cash and later convert to term. This is one you'll never hear because I've never heard anybody else doing this but me, and we do that from time to time. We option it for cash, then we find a qualified buyer who might need a little bit of help or short term, and maybe they got a big down payment, but they need a year or two to get the rest. You just go right back to the seller and restructure the deal and still get your big fee for what you know, not what check you wrote. How do you protect yourself so the seller never circumvents you? No seller will ever circumvent me. I learned that the hard way. Documents are right in there for you. How to build a huge buyer's list in a few days so selling becomes the easiest part of your business. And again, the VAs will do it for you. And that is the key, my friend, is building your buyer's list. So soon you'll be finding houses for buyers, not buyers for houses. Both Jay and I have a buyer's list. Jay, in fact, that's one of your specialties, isn't it? You got a great big old buyer's list.
Yep, just here in our 40,000 target area, we average over 200 new buyers calling in a month wanting to buy our homes.
And that's the whole key, guys. In fact, the truth is, whatever business you're in, the list of customers or prospects that you have is your most important asset, no different than our business. Well, I'm going to show you how to start from scratch and build a big buyer's list. So from that day on, you find out what your buyers have to work with, and then you go find houses to plug into them, and then all this stuff about selling houses goes away.
Yeah, what's so cool, not to interrupt you, Ron, but what's so cool is just this weekend, this past weekend, I used one of your simple systems that you teach us, and I had 46, that's 46 new buyers called wanting to buy our homes.
Wow.
And and guess what? I didn't answer the phone the first time. It's all on automatic.
And don't you wish you had more houses?
I'm looking.
Guys, it's not a problem of finding buyers. It's a problem of finding enough properties to appease their insatiable appetite when we make it so easy for them to buy. And please understand that we have not discussed anything during this entire training today that involves somebody immediately going down to the bank and qualifying for a loan and having great credit. I mean, that's just not the world we live in. I'm catering to the 90% of people out there that cannot qualify immediately for a loan. Again, good people just need a little bit of our help. Okay, Ron, this sounds expensive, so give me the bad news. There's no bad news. There's no bad news because I'm going to give you a really good deal. So, guys, get ready here because for the first time ever, this system is being disclosed and released to the public, and you're the first ones to hear about it, so I'm going to give you an opportunity here that's going to expire very quickly. I've recorded the entire ACT program in a 2-day live environment. Took about 100 hours to get it ready to record, and about another 20 after I recorded it. And you have a chance to get that entire system right now for only 3 payments of $397 or 1 payment of $997, and we will ship it to you immediately. You will see the website right there on your screen and a phone number for you to call. And if you have a credit card or a debit card, call in immediately because I'm about to pile it on deep, so you might want to be making your way there right now. That's about 1/5 of your first ACT deal, what I'm asking for this entire package. And this is more than just a course, folks. This is a complete system. Please understand the difference. You don't just plug in CDs and listen to them and forget about it. I'm giving you every single tool in this program you need to go out and implement this package, and right up to the VA who's part of the program. She was at the event. You'll meet her. You'll get her contact information. She will hire you VAs no matter where you live to do whatever functions you want that VA to do and train them for you. So this is turnkey. Once you learn what you need to do, all the rest of the steps are right there in front of you. It's about 1/10 of the average deposit from a tenant buyer or on a sandwich lease. So, I mean, guys, think about it. If you do one of those 6-figure option deals, well, I'm going to let you do the math. Obviously, the cost you're paying for this system is kind of irrelevant. Cheap price to pay for a whole new business in a box with everything you need to start and finish your first deal in less than 30 days. Also include the contact information for the VA, just like I said, so that when you're ready, she's ready, and she'll start whenever you tell her to. You'll immediately have someone to call the FSBOs for you and get all the facts, and someone to work on the selling side when you get something to sell. By the way, they'll even set up Google Docs for you. They'll set up your system so that it'll run your business, and it's all free to you, incidentally. Google Docs, Google Voice, and Google Contact, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, Google Documents and Google Voice, it's all free, and the virtual assistants here that we've got set up, they already know how to set everything up for you. And what's so cool about it is you as the real estate investor and your virtual assistants, you get to go to the website and see all the activity that's taking place for you behind the scenes, current all the time.
So you just turn the switch on and say, go, and they do all this for you. They call the FSBOs, they email them to you, and then you quickly pre-screen out the suspects from the prospects as I trained you to do. Make a few phone calls a week. And right now, that's all you have to do to get going on this program. But I won't let you lose a bit of sleep over your decision because you have 30 days to try out the system and return it for a full, complete, prompt, and courteous refund if you don't see that everything I'm telling you here is absolutely correct. You won't return it because when you get this system, you're going to see there's too much money out there sitting here waiting for you. The cost of it will really, truly become moot. But I'm going to give you a few other things here. I'm going to put you on a monthly conference call with me. Second Monday of every week, I spend about an hour on the phone answering questions from my best students. You may participate in that for an entire year at no additional cost. And this is where I get on there personally and help you with some of your deals. We pre-screen FSBOs for you and whatever you want to talk about. Plus, I'm going to give you 90-day support from our coach here internally. Literally, that's 7 hours a day that you can call in or email in your questions about real estate, whether it's buying or selling, and get the help from my professionally trained staff here, right here, that also buys and sells houses on a daily basis on their own. That is 90 days of that service. And if you take me up on my one-pay plan and pay $997 for the entire package, I'm going to extend that to 180 full days. Guys, that's 6 months.
Wow.
Where you can pick up the telephone and talk to people 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. Because I don't want you out there all by yourself in the wilderness without anybody to call. And truly, that is a $997 value by itself. All right, now let me show you how you can get this entire system absolutely free. And Jay, this one I didn't even talk to you about, but here's what I'm going to do for all of our folks on the seminar today. Here you go.
You got my attention.
Order this package within 30 minutes and do your first axe deal within 60 days. Just send me a letter with a photo and a copy of the check. Yes, I will need a little bit of proof here. And I will send you a check back for the entire $997 you paid for this course.
Wow.
I hope you got that, folks. I will give you back the entire cost, and all you got to do is go do a little axe deal. By the way, I will tell you, and I mean this sincerely, if it takes you 60 days to do one, you're taking 45 days to get started.
That's true.
These things go quickly. Remember, we're setting you up with a VA. The VA's doing all the work. All you got to do is make a few phone calls, send a few agreements, and turn them back over to the VAs to sell them. Come on, 60 days, but I'm going to give you 2 full months. And I'll send you back the entire $997. That means I could say that I'm actually paying you to try my system. And by the way, I fully expect to send a lot of people their money back. Please take advantage of me and make me send you your check back. But remember, I get your testimonial for that $1,000, and trust me, I'm going to use it and make you a legend. So take me up on my offer. All right, but I'm not done yet because there is an option 2. Option 1 is the axe system by itself. Again, you can make 3 payments of $395 or 1 payment of $997. If you pay it in full, I'll give you 6 full months of coaching service. But I do have another choice, and this is the one I really want everybody to take me up on. I have now added my entire axe program to my 4-day live quick turn real estate school. It's going to be part of my school from here on. But guys, I'm about to give you an offer that's not going to last from here on, so pay real close attention. I've got all my new scripts in my new manual for the Quick Start Real Estate School, which is me for 4 days. In fact, I've got quite a few scripts in there that are not in your axe manual. You've got everything you need to do the business in axe, but in this 4-day deal, we actually cover the entire business, not just axe. We're going to talk about buying houses subject to, taking over debt, buying them with owner financing, and including wholesaling bank-owned properties, plus the axe system. We're going to literally implement the 5 steps to success in a live environment by actually doing the things we teach, starting with live calls to sellers. I'm going to set up a conference call before the event, and I'm going to ask you to bring your FSBO sheets. And who calls the FSBOs for you? Your VAs. I'm going to ask you to get your VA to bring in a bunch of sheets. We're going to sit down with you, go through your deals, and literally call them in class, both either live, if you wish, or one-on-one with my qualified staff. In fact, Jay Connor, that's on this phone, will be at this event as well. Maybe we can even get him to work with you personally, or not. We'll ask Jay when he gets there. Putting you on the spot there, Jay.
That's quite all right. At the event, I'll be glad to work with any students that brings their deals in.
All right, so what we're going to do is prepare you, have you bring them in, and then we're going to work them live in class. And what I mean is this. We're going to call them. We're going to try to structure offers right on the phone. We're going to get their oral agreement, and then literally we're going to send them agreements from the class and try to get them signed and sent back before you even leave the room. Guys, we create a lot of deals at this event, and this is the exciting part about it. We've actually kind of just turned it into a deal-a-thon. So in addition to that, we're going to mail yellow letters. I'm going to teach you what we call the yellow letter campaign, which is the biggest discovery that I made in real estate in my 30 years on get sellers to call us. We have a very simple, ugly yellow letter. That's all done for you as well. In fact, we can even get your VAs doing it, but we have a service that does it. We send out the yellow letters, and then we have people call us. The sellers call us, and I take those calls on the first day of the event, and you'll hear me talk to these sellers live as they call in. Now, I don't want you taking these calls. We have a 24-hour answering service that I'm going to set you up with, very, very inexpensive. They will take your calls. They will send you the information, and then we'll have your VAs call them back to complete the property information sheets. Those are the sheets that we're going to pre-screen in class right before your eyes and send out contracts to sellers. So let me recap there a little bit. I'm going to ask you to bring some leads, and then we're going to generate some right before your eyes, just like we do out in the real world. We're going to process them right in the room during the 4 days, make deals, and turn them right back over to you. So you can see that this is a lot more than just a training event. We're also going to get on a bus and go out and look at some bank-owned properties. We do that every single time. And in fact, let me give you a report on an event we just did. We made 16 offers on bank-owned properties and got 5 out of the 16 accepted. You don't even know that, Jay. Do you know that?
No, I was on the bus trip, and I knew the offers were made, but I didn't know what had come to the bottom line.
5 out of the 16 were accepted.
Wow.
I mean, that's an incredible number, and that's just on our first go-around with them. I've turned those all back over to the students now, so literally they're going to get paid thousands of dollars just for getting lucky because, guys, we gave those out by the luck of the draw, to be honest with you. So they didn't do anything to earn it, but these students are getting these deals. And some of these deals had $100,000 spread in them. So we're going to do that for you while you're on the bus. And you can also bring in your own bank-owned properties wherever you live, because you are truly going to see us make a bunch of offers on properties that we don't have time to get out on the bus and go see. In fact, we always have the realtors bring in a batch out of the MLS, and we make offers on those based on the system that I'm going to teach you on how to buy bank-owned properties. And then, of course, my friend Jay Connor is going to talk to us about how to raise the money. We do that with private lenders. And, Jay, I'm going to let you comment on that because you're probably the best qualified guy I know to teach people how to get the money to buy these bank-owned properties.
Well, I appreciate that, Ron. I tell you, I thought I was a pretty smart fellow until I really learned how much I didn't know, and that was from you just a few short years ago. I was doing the business all wrong. I loved buying bank-owned properties, but I did it through a line of credit at the bank, and I called up my banker to do a deal, and there was this dead silence on the other end of the phone. They had shut my line of credit down with no warning. And as Providence would have it, I was introduced to you about a week and a half later after that happened. You told me about private money, and I was able to go out and raise $2,150,000 within 90 days. And that was my springboard. It was because of that experience, that adversity, that it really, my banker tripled my income by cutting me off and throwing me to the street. But private money has had the biggest impact on my investing career, other than just all the wonderful training that I've learned from you.
Well, thank you, sir. So, guys, we're going to teach you how to get the money to buy bank-owned properties. It will not involve banks. It will involve ordinary people, most of which you don't know. He's going to teach you how to find people that you don't know and then approach those that you do know. By the way, he's also going to do it for you if you want him to. He will literally find the private lenders for you and put you on the phone with them after they already know what you do and have said yes.
Absolutely.
Guys, we got this thing down to where there is really not much for you to do anymore.
Well, we're just practicing what we preach, and that is let's put it all on automatic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that makes us weird dudes, We actually do this stuff. We don't just talk about it.
That's right.
All right, and the last day, guys, is going to be all about selling houses. We're going to take you through our automated system. Again, most of it your virtual assistant is going to do for you. But if you truly know how to sell houses, how to get them ready to sell, how to pre-screen the prospects, how to attract them, and then how to follow up on them and get them in the house and do it very quickly, honestly, I'll tell you, this is going to be the easiest part of your business. I know for some people it bothers you because you're worried that you're not going to sell them. But please, I would remind you, we're not looking for all cash buyers that can qualify for a loan here. The realtors and the builders are looking for all of those. We're looking for beautiful, nice people who want to live in the beautiful homes, who's got a little money to work with and can make monthly payments. And believe me, there's a huge, huge market of those out there right now. So Jay and I don't worry about selling.
Yeah. Well, and Ron, as I mentioned to our listeners just a few minutes ago, using one of your simple techniques, I did one technique just this past weekend that brought in 46 new buyers that wanted to buy my homes. And here's what's so cool. These buyers have got $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 down payment. Now, not all of them, of course, and not the majority, but out of those 46, I've probably got 8 of them with more than $5,000 to put down. So it's your system that teaches us how to attract these buyers that actually have the down payment money or lease option money.
Yes, it is, and they're not hard to get. And, again, it's all on autopilot. All right, guys, this 4-day event alone Normally costs $4,995, and it has for a lot of years in the past. In fact, that's what you paid, didn't it, Jay, as I recall?
Well, actually, I paid $5,000 exactly of
close
this
enough.
exact event.
Yeah, close enough. And that was what, 4 years ago now, did you say?
That was three and a half years ago.
All right, well, then I'm about to upset you, because during this one-time special offer, guys, get this, because you're going to have 30 minutes to take me up on this offer. If you purchase the control without ownership system for $997 within the next 30 minutes, I'm going to allow you to attend this live 4-day event for just an additional $1,000.
Oh, my lands, Ron.
That is correct.
Wait a minute, let me get this straight. You're offering the AX course for $997, and for only $1,000 more, they get to go to the 4-day boot camp you just talked about.
That is $1,997 full price for what cost you $4,995 without the ACT program.
My lands. That's the best offer that I've heard come out in since I've known you.
Well, that's the cheapest that I've ever allowed anybody into this 4-day event. With all the time, money, and effort we put into this event, the bus trip, screening all the deals, and bringing the qualified teachers there, believe me, that's a real bargain. But again, it's only going to last on this short-term offer.
Well,
frankly, Jay, I'm testing the marketplace, and besides, I'd tell you the truth, I'd really like to get a lot of people through this event that could not come at the $5,000 price, and I've consigned myself that that's probably a lot more important than us trying to get top dollar out of the event, especially in the middle of a recession.
Well, I tell you what, I want to tell all the listeners on this call, please take note of what I'm getting ready to say. This event that Ron LeGrand is offering right here, this 4-day boot camp along with the AX, this event changed my world when it came to real estate investing. It tripled. I was already a real estate investor, but the techniques, look, Ron just mentioned to y'all and to us about how he's going to teach buying subject to. I never even heard of that until I went to this event with Ron LeGrand, and my first subject to deal pocketed me $200,000.
Wow.
And so I just cannot stress the importance and the quality of training that's at this event.
Hold on now, you didn't hear him say that your first deal was going to get you over $200,000. I hope nobody heard.
No, that was mine.
I hear you.
I
don't mislead anybody here. That's a good deal, Jay. All right, guys, you can bring your parent, child, spouse, or significant other, or a person in your business at absolutely no additional charge, but they do have to be registered. Now, you can't surprise us with them. Now, you have two options here, so let's make sure you understand the two options. Option one is control without ownership by itself for $997 one payment or 3 payments of $397. However, I want you to take option two because that includes both the 4-day live event and the AX course, and that's 4 payments of $595 or 1 payment of $1,997. If you have been to my Quick Start School, then I'm going to give you a $500 discount off, but I do want you to come back. Please do not assume that you've been to this Quick Start School. Remember, we have added the AX program into the manual. You will not recognize the manual. It's totally different than it was, and I promise you it's in your best interest to come back through this 4-day event again, so I'm going to give you an additional $500 off of this ridiculous price. But you got to call in to get that now. You can't do that online. You got to call in to get it. And I'll give you the number here in just a second. Choosing the full package is really the only smart thing to do. And if you pay it in full right now, get out pencil and paper because I'm going to lay it on thick for this special short-time offer. I'm going to send you my entire cash flow systems. That is the Pretty House cash flow system and the Ugly House cash flow system. Pretty House designed to buy properties that are in pretty and nice neighborhoods, but we're buying them now. We're not lease optioning them in this system. The Ugly House system is designed to buy bank-owned properties and either wholesale them or rehab them and retail them. And now, with the AX system that you're also getting with this package, you've got the entire business laid out for you on the CDs, the best that I can do without getting you in. Guys, this is a $1,997 gift I'm giving you just for prepaying the already 80% or 60% discounted price of $1997 in full. I'm also giving you my entire short sale system, which is an all-day seminar I did with an attorney all about short sales, step by step, from beginning to end, on how to get the banks to discount debt. In addition to that, I'm going to send you my Work for Equity system. It's another $500 one-of-a-kind course that I created. There's nothing out there like this, and you're going to want to implement this into your business. In fact, I would suggest this be the second thing you listen to after the acts, because here's how this works. We lease option properties to tenant buyers as is that need work on them. We don't do the work. We don't renovate houses. We let the tenant buyers renovate them with their own money and their own labor, and we just give them a little break on the equity for doing it, or otherwise incentivize them. This is my favorite exit strategy right here. It eliminates contractors from my life, and it gets the properties turned around a lot faster because I don't have those costly entanglements. This $500 gift that I'm giving you is going to make you a fortune, and it took me about 10 years to learn this system. In fact, I think I created it, if I remember. Now, all right, this next one, listen up. I've got a law firm that will literally give you an LLC, set you up with an LLC, teach you how to use the LLC. In addition to that, we'll give you a 3-year tax audit. Now, guys, if you've paid income taxes in the last 3 years, you owe it to yourself to get them to this law firm and let them go back and get you a refund. I can't tell you how much of a refund I got by doing this, but I can tell you it was substantial. And I strongly suggest you don't try to second guess the IRS. I had no idea I was getting this money back. I didn't have a clue. My CPA went back and did it for me, and these guys are offering to do the same thing for you. But here you go, $3,300 value that I'm paying to add to this package. And all you have to do is pay the $19.97 in full, and you get all of this stuff that I've just offered you, if you do it within the next 30 minutes. Here's my unconditional guarantee on the entire live event. You can cancel within 30 days, or you can sit through the entire first 2 days of the live event that I personally teach, I might add. And if you're not absolutely thrilled, excited, on fire with what you learn, just go to the back of the room and tell them, and you can have all of your money back, and we'll part friends. So I made it my personal credo to deal only when the student is ready, and not try to beg or plead with anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Very strong agreement. And don't forget, I'm going to give you back your $997 in cash if you do a first deal within 60 days. And honestly, I'm looking forward to doing it. And I know that we're going to get many requests to send them back a check. And yes, of course, I'm going to make you a legend if I do that. All right, so here it is. I'll recap for you. You get control without ownership, my monthly Q&A call with me, 180-day support line if you pay the $997 in full, 90 days if you finance it, plus the rebate certificate, all for only $997. Take me up on option 2, however, and let me throw in the 4-day live event that I do 6 times a year personally in cities all over the country, and you'll find those cities on your order form when you go to order here in just a minute. I'll send you my cash flow systems by themselves, a $2,000 value, and my Work for Equity system, and my IRA course, and the certificate that you activate when you're ready to have the attorneys create you an LLC, all for only $1,997, full paid. Now, you can finance it, but if you finance it, you still get the 4-day live event, but you will not get the cash flow systems, Work for Equity, and the IRA and the LLC. So obviously your best choice is $1,997 fully paid. And by the way, guys, let me stop here just for a second. If you have questions, now would be the time to submit them, because they have to be done by the end of this webinar or we won't get them. So go ahead and start typing in your questions right now if you have them. All major changes in our life start with seemingly minor decisions. And frankly, I hope this is a minor decision for you. For some, it might be a stretch, but hey, stretch. I would strongly suggest to you, if you don't do something today, what will change? And I think you know the answer. You can't steal in slow motion. I can tell you, I've never made this offer before, and you have 30 minutes to take me up on it. So if you will go to axcourse.com, that's ACTS, course, COURSE.com. If you happen to be tuning in by phone, you can go there right now and register. Or you can call 800-567-6128. That's 800-567-6128 right now. And we will take credit cards or bank drafts. We'll do whatever we can to get this system to you. But I bet you thought I was done. I'm close, but not quite. Listen to this. Whether you take option 1 or option 2 and pay in full or finance, I'm going to give you this bonus if you'll accept my 30-day trial to my Gold Club. When you order my system, you'll see a button right on the order form, and it'll allow you to opt in or not opt in to my Gold Club. If you opt in at no risk or cost to you, I'm going to send you my Getting to the Next Level course, which is a whole day seminar I did. And I'm telling you, it's one of the best things that I've ever produced. I'm so proud of this course because it's me being me for an entire day. We talk about what it takes to become a millionaire, the mindset, and some of the most important criteria. In fact, Jay, you have this course, don't you?
I do have this course, Ron, and I just want to tell our listeners here, when you came out with this course, I got it, I listened to it. I listened to this course 3 times within 30 days because the principles in this course apply to what we're doing, whether we're in real estate or not. And, you know, I mentioned earlier I've got other businesses going on. This particular course right here, I was able to use principles out of this course to make me money in my other businesses. So this is a powerful course here, and quite frankly, with you throwing it in for free, it's just another amazing value you've got going on here.
Another $500 gift if you can move. Now, you've got 30 minutes to get this. And remember, this is going to come to you by just simply opting into the Gold Club. And that is whether you finance the packages or pay them in full. You're still going to get this if you just opt in. I will tell you that there's a list of the titles that are in this course right on your order form down at the bottom of it. You go there, you'll see what this Getting to the Next Level is all about. I think you'll be impressed with the content. Now, guys, the Gold Club, there's no way I can take time now to explain to you what the Gold Club is all about, but I can tell you a few things that are going to be very important to your success and your implementation of this course. Number one, we got a proof of funds letter on there. Just go get it anytime you want, 24 hours a day, so you never have to worry about that. If you're going to make offers on bank-owned properties, you're absolutely going to need it. We also have a site set up to where you can go attract private lenders to come to your site. It does all the work to pre-screen them for you. You just follow up. And then we have a forms and agreements library with all of the documents from the ACTS course, my entire Quick Start School, and all of my documents, both residential and commercial, the U.S. and Canada, are all right up on this membership site. So you can fill them out, send them to your attorney, blank or filled out, change them any way you want. And this alone, of course, means that you almost have to be in the Gold Club if you're going to do any business. There's a whole affiliate system set up where you can actually get weekly checks, and we're going to send you a monthly newsletter and a CD and a whole lot more that I just don't have time to get into right now. You'll receive a Gold Club package. It'll explain it all to you, and it'll go through all the benefits with you. And all I'm asking you to do is opt in on the order form. We're not going to force you to take this. We're not going to shove it down your throat. It's a measly $59 a month. I can't imagine you not taking it, but you do have a choice. And if you take it, I'll send you the $500 Getting to the Next Level course while you're doing it. And with that said, yes, I am done. So welcome to the family. We'll get on there and order right now. You have 30 minutes. Call 800-567-6128. That's 800-567-6128. We have people standing by to take your calls right now. Or go to actscourse.com, actscourse.com, and order. 30 minutes gets you all the bonuses. 30 minutes gets you the discounts. It's a one-time only offer. Please take me up on it. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you live in my 4-day event in the near future. And by the way, while you're ordering it, please pick a location. I need to know which one of the 6 you're coming to, and we can prepare for you, and we'll know how big manuals to bring, and we send you all kinds of cool stuff along the way. So, Mr. Jay Conner, I want to thank you for taking the time to spend with us here today. It's been an honor to have you on this call.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me, Ron, and I tell you, I just want to encourage every listener that we've got here on the call for 2 reasons to take advantage of this offer that you've put out here. Number one, I know because I've researched the real estate investing training that's out there these days, this information that you are offering, Ron, to the listeners here, this information is nowhere else that they can get it. The boot camp, the 4-day thing that you're offering, changed my real estate investing world, tripled my income. I cannot thank you enough. My wife, Carol Joy, and I can't thank you enough. And the value you put out here and the price is the best I've seen yet, and so I encourage everyone to really take advantage of this. And thank you for having me on the call today, Ron.
And thank you, sir, and thank everybody for tuning in. And I hope to get some real cool letters from you with some copies of the checks, and I'll put them up on the wall here in our office in Jacksonville. And, again, I will make you famous. So, guys, please take me up on this offer. You won't see it again. Appreciate your time. Hope to see you soon.
Well, there you have it. A whole new business all laid out for you and an incredible offer to get you on the fast track. Now I'll keep this offer open until the end of the month, and our system automatically corrects your records based on the shipping date. So call 800-567-6128 right now and get this incredible package while it's 66% off. That offer won't last long, and if you wait, the event you wish to attend may be full, because they almost always are. Now there's no better time to get started than right now, so pick up the phone now and make this a turning point and take your life back. It's a small cost, a huge value, and completely risk-free. The techniques we cover on this video are making a lot of people big money in this economy. I know I'm one of them, and so is Jay. But we use other techniques too, as the need arises. And my Quick Start Real Estate School is where they all come together, and we do all kinds of real deals on real houses. Hopefully some of them are yours. Opportunity's knocking. Will you invite it in, or turn up the volume on the TV so you don't have to listen? You've seen enough to know I'm the real deal and the right guy to teach you the real estate business. They don't call me the Godfather for nothing. I trained the trainers, and most of today's real estate teachers started as my students. Yep, I'm just that old. But I learned a long time ago, only when the student is ready can the teacher appear. If you're ready, I'm here. But hey, look at this face. I won't be around forever, so get what you can from the Godfather while I'm still able and willing to teach. I don't have to. No one knows this business better than me, and no one's better at passing it along to you in an easy to understand and implement systematic way requiring little time and no money or credit. Once you get to the event, you'll get all the tools you need, and if you want me to, we'll set you up with one-on-one help. It's available if you want it, and in my 30 years, it's never been easier to make money than right now while in the middle of a recession, and create giant opportunities, especially when we implement automation, technology, and virtual assistants. You'll meet them in the room as well, because all of the work will be done for you. I guess that's why we're attracting so many professionals like doctors and dentists and attorneys and CPAs and engineers and chiropractors and business owners and people from all walks of life and professions, because they're all looking for income replacements and retirement vehicles. We have it all built into this great system and this great business called real estate. Now most start part-time, and some quickly realize the potential and come to the conclusion this part-time business produces full-time income, and it keeps on coming after the deal is done. I love the residual income we get from the house business, and they cost us nothing to buy. Where else can I get free assets, quickly turn them into cash, and have it keep on paying me for years to come, and ultimately spit out a big check later on when someone else decides to cash me out? There's no business like this business. There's no other business that'll do that. Try that in the stock market. Now what happens when you can't perform and the service you get paid to do anymore is no longer available? Or what if you lose your job and can't find another one? What if your business declines and the outgo exceeds the income and you have to shut it down? These are all ugly realities today, and no one wants to think about them, but in the last 3 years, millions of Americans have had to turn and face the tiger, and my guess is none of them ever thought it could happen to them. Well, my friend, people will always need a place to live, and there's always a market for houses, especially when we make them easy to buy and risk-free to us. I've been through 5 cycles in my 30-year career. Boom, bust, interest rates high, interest rates low, buyer's market, seller's market, good times, bad times, Democrats and Republicans in office, and through it all, the one thing that people always need are houses, and that will not change. When you learn how to buy houses my way, you'll make money in any economy and build wealth in the process. Don't you think that's important enough to you and your family to do something about it right now? Let me help you do it the right way. Call 800-567-6128, and I'll see you soon in the live event. Again, that's 800-567-6128.